Muha's mad at me because they kind of started going on a ramble and I forgot to press the record button.
Was a solid like 2 minutes of rant.
No.
So what if we made a werewolf movie, but we didn't tell people it was a werewolf movie in the trailers? We just made it seem kind of a mystery. And all the cool supernatural shit implied in the trailers is just fucking werewolves. Like,
Yeah.
and granted, a neat, weird, like hairless werewolf kind of thing,
Yeah.
but nevertheless, basically a fucking werewolf.
I mean, there's some kind of
Um,
cool like visual stuff they do with the werewolf, mostly with the weird placenta thing, but
sure.
uh,
No, that scene was awesome, honestly.
yeah.
Like that was the coolest scene. But
The rest of it, yeah, is pretty generic and pretty boring and not really scary.
yeah,
And really just,
I was
especially in the first
honestly,
act, was like just gruesomely violent for its own sake. Uh,
yeah. I was honestly was expecting some like Robert Eggers style shit out of this, given the trailers and everything. They really conveyed a tone that was more spooky and supernatural and kind of fucked up and weird and interesting. And all this ends up being is just, oh hey, what if white people genocided, you know, native people for their land and then suffered a curse as consequence because now they're cursed and their children are cursed and everybody's cursed and now they're just all going to start dying because I guess werewolf.
yeah, I guess,
And
sure.
you know, I enjoyed the nightmare sequences that were like, you know, freaking these guys out that they were going to be attacked. That was kind of cool, but none of that carries over into the main movie. It's just werewolf shit.
I know there
And so
was
that
one
kind
that,
of stuff where they're like,
sorry, go ahead.
there's that kind of stuff where like, you know, you have three people out in a field and then one of them wanders off on their own and they're like, Mark, Mark, are you okay?
Mark is not okay.
Mark?
Spoiler alert.
And then like she's like, Greg, I think something's wrong with Mark. And he's like, what do you mean? And she looks back and she's like, Mark. And then she turns and looks and Greg's gone and she's like, Greg, Mark, Greg. Uh-oh. Like,
Yeah, there's a lot of just
it's
stupid
that
people
kind
making
of
stupid
fucking
decisions.
setup.
Yeah.
It's so basic and boring. And
It is very boring. I
you
know there's one
have
that made me laugh unintentionally. It was one of the nightmare sequences. The whole conceit of this film is that there's this curse placed on this land, and everyone that sleeps in this nearby town has the same dream of where to find these silver teeth. It has like a scarecrow that was made by a human man, which is a really gross sequence. So they have kind of like scarecrow they jump back to a lot, but there's a part where like the main like I was calling him werewolf hunter because that's basically what he is. Like the werewolf hunter family was like killed by one later on, so he has a dream where his family shows up and they just turn to the camera and there's like "Hi!" like doing like the goofy hand wave, and then just it turns back,
like
it turns around,
hi.
and then like the fucking scarecrow just lean over them, like hands draped over him, like these are my bitches now, and it's gonna like just turns around and walks away. And I'm
like, your scarecrow.
You missed your chance. She's mine now. And I'm laughing at myself in this crowded theater. I'm like, that's so stupid.
No, it's but yeah, let's quickly touch on the worst thing about the movie.
Oh yeah.
Which is the way that it uses the wholesale slaughter of native people who have, you know, a right to the land.
Yeah.
And it's ambiguously written into the law. So since they refuse to leave their land because it's their land and the white man came along and decided it was theirs instead, they literally go to this village of these peaceful people and there's a whole sequence where they just murder the fuck out of all of them.
It's brutal.
And it's really gruesome and dark.
It's fucked up.
It's like it is a single sustained shot of just watching. Honestly, it's a really well executed sequence. Like it does that single shot and everybody in the town is running around and being chased by the guys on horses, and the guys on horses have like, you know, guns. And if you think about what it takes from a filmmaking perspective to coordinate a scene that chaotic, and have them actually set shit on fire and have the fire grow over the course of the shot, and like have the actors all coordinated enough to know when they're being shot at and fall even when they're not looking at the people shooting them. Like, it's an impressive technical achievement. And when I first saw it, I'll admit, I thought, this is dark and cool. This is going to be like, if this is the level they're setting things at, this is what I was hoping it would be. But it's the kind of thing which is only okay if you follow up on it properly.
Yeah.
And all they do here is they use this really gruesome shit that they do to this, and they take a couple off to the side, and it gets more graphic and up close, like over the next like couple of minutes, and that's pretty bad. But that would only work if they took the time to actually follow through with the rest of the movie. You know, if you're going to do something like that, you better fucking follow through properly. Yeah. And this movie just whiffs it completely.
Absolutely. Yeah.
That whole opening sequence, it's just a MacGuffin to drive the rest of the plot.
From that point, and it just
no more. From that point, the Romani are no more a part of the plot than just they have cursed this land, and now the white men have to like figure out how to save their families from this curse.
Yep.
And it does call them all out as having done a wrong thing, but it doesn't give the Romani any kind of presence or character beyond that opening, and that's not good.
It's not. And so what you're pretty much left with is just this extremely gratuitous and gruesome, violent scenes, like some genuine body torture going on here, that ultimately adds nothing except that, it's violent and it's dark, which means our movie is edgy and indie, which it does feel kind of like an edgelord's interpretation of a good indie horror movie. And then it just turns into generic save the white people. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, sorry. The lag is kind of fucking us up a little bit tonight.
Yeah, but, sorry.
No, like there's this thing where genuinely, like, this movie has some good atmosphere.
Yeah.
It has some good cinematography and editing. Like, there is some good talent going into pulling this off. The problem is that the source material, like the base script, is just not that interesting.
No.
It's a very basic werewolf story once you get past that initial sequence. And I thought it would at least carry some of that edge and, like, it's not someone doing something shocking because they have something to say about it. It's someone doing something shocking because it's something shocking.
Yeah.
Like, and there's a distinctly different tone to a movie that does that. And I'm not just being like politically correct or whatever. Like, we've had plenty of complaints about, like, there seems to be this perception that if a movie has something problematic in it, we just hate it immediately. And whatever.
Just
sometimes that's egregious enough. Well, I mean, and sometimes that's egregious enough to actually be an issue. Sometimes I can't watch a fucking movie, no matter how good it is, quote unquote, because it's ethically abhorrent. But when we talk about these kinds of movies, whether it's music or Dear Evan Hansen or Licorice Pizza, the rest of the movie is also just bad.
Yep.
It's just bad. And I don't care what fucking PTA fans say. Like, that's a boring ass movie.
Yep.
Just period. Aside from gross, it's boring. And this movie is just so dull.
Yeah. I think it does not help that everyone in this movie kind of talks like they're golf narrators. It's like everyone's required like quiet, Daisy, you're talking too much. Let the man hunt. We must close all the doors, block up all the windows. Yeah. Quiet, Mary. I like to hear the grass grow. Everyone talks like a super monotone, like ASMR. Quiet tone, even when like shit's supposed to be happening, even like in the third act. It's like, what is this monster? It appears to be some kind of wolf. Yes, it is. Animals did this. All right, and he's swinging.
It's unfortunate,
and it's going in anyway. Yeah. My bad.
Yeah, no, it's really unfortunate.
It just
there are a couple of beats in the story that are actually interesting. There's that one scene in the barn. After they catch a creature, and I think that final sequence in the church was kind of interesting and fun, just by the nature of what it was, we're like, oh God, of course it's that person's fault.
Can we talk about the weird twist this has at the very end and how just completely pointless it was?
I don't think it was a twist. I saw that shit coming a mile away.
Well, I mean, it's clearly meant to be some kind of a twist, like, oh, surprise, it's a fat.
No, sure, fuck it, let's go for it. But let me just say before we get into the details of it, this is the part of the twist that is like foreshadowed is not even foreshadowed. It's very obvious what it is from early on.
I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm saying it's framed as a twist.
And the second part of it, which is technically not foreshadowed, is like, okay, it would matter if you gave a shit about these characters, but you don't. Like, and it doesn't actually spend any time on what happens after the twist for like an epilogue for the movie. It's just like a wordless, I would call it a montage, but it's basically just two shots. Like,
more or less
about it that's interesting.
So this movie starts with like a World War One. It was World War I, I think. Like
whatever. It's one of the big wars. A British guy's dying.
Yeah, pretty much. So they pull like a silver bullet. I was like, "What's this?" And a flashback like 30 years prior or some bullshit like that.
The whole rest of the movie takes place in that flashback.
Yeah, and then it finally cuts to it. Turns out the little boy that became the werewolf in the beginning of the movie is also a soldier that dies in the end. What? And it turns out the hunter adopted the kids. Does nothing with this.
When it had that little bullet show at the beginning, I'm like, that's a silver bullet. It was inside of him. Probably the werewolf.
Like, you know what would be a great twist if they took the silver bullet out and then he turned into a werewolf and then just ate everyone in the encampment.
That's what I was hoping for.
That would have been cool.
I was hoping that like he had the werewolf pathogen, and when they finally remove this silver bullet because it lodges in him, it doesn't go out, and that's what changes him back to human. And he lives his life as a human. But then like he goes to war and they remove the bullet, and you're like, he's gonna turn into a wolf, but he just dies.
Yep, he just dies anyway.
War. Like, what kind of a fucking twist is that? That is what's the point?
Yeah.
Why would you include that in the movie? Why not just have the whole movie take place in the 30 years back? What kind of artificial addition to your film is that?
Yeah, like you cut that entire sequence, like both like the intro and the outro, and you would have missed nothing whatsoever. It adds absolutely
honestly,
nothing.
I think it would have strengthened the movie. Yeah, I think it would have strengthened the movie.
Because it is so out of place and so like, wait, what? And like, why are we doing this right now? And then it just ends immediately after.
Well, there's an expectation set from the beginning of the movie that you're going to get something more out of this. And when you don't get it, you're just like, okay. So if you don't set that expectation and you don't have the weird epilogue that doesn't add anything, you just leave this idea of like, and they lived traumatized but happily ever after. Like, that's fine. Why not have that be your ending? That's fine.
Sure.
I don't.
It's the whole thing is it exercise in boredom and shock for its own value.
Who the fuck? Hang on. There was one of the people, one of the things, let's like, what was it? There was literally a review which at the beginning of this fucking year, we're just at the end of February right now, and there was a review which of course was like best horror movie of the year, and I was expecting something at least halfway decent out of it, but just watching this I'm thinking, why the fuck, what is your standard for horror that the Cursed is already in February the best horror movie of the year? That you're like, what
I mean, granted, it's like we've had a lot of horror movies so far. Yeah.
I guess Scream, maybe. I got a few things to show you. Like, no. As a horror fan, no. Fuck off. Fuck off.
Well, that seems like a pretty good place to end this. So yeah, the Curse.
Looking for.
Oh, you want
hang on. I'm looking for whoever reviewed this. Okay, where is it? All right, I'm looking at posters. I'm going to find whoever's responsible for this fucking bullshit lie of a quote. This will not stand, Michael.
I believe in you, buddy.
One of the best horror films of the year. The screen scene. What's the screen scene?
The what?
The Screen Scene is a Vancouver film office online newsletter. Oh my God. The Screen Scene. Oh, it's also a podcast, I guess?
Sure. Might as well be.
Whatever. In any case, I wouldn't trust the Screen Scene for anything regarding anything at this point, because this isn't just not a good horror movie. It's just not a good movie.
Tough but fair.
So whatever. Fuck these guys. I don't care. Don't listen to them. They're wrong.
It sounds like you care a little bit. That you're still looking at it.
Here it is. Oh, wow. Oh, they're not a Rotten Tomatoes approved publication.
So it's kind of like when they pull out some random person's tweet that says "great movie" as their poster card.
They gave a whole tomato to Tom Clancy's Without Remorse and Rapid Man. They gave Prisoners of Ghostland a low review, but they also gave the low review to Godzilla versus Kong. According to this guy, Godzilla versus Kong is not as good as The Courier. Do you remember The Courier with Benedict Cumberbatch?
Fucking barely.
Yeah, that's what we're talking about.
Also, that's just a weird movie to compare it to.
I'm just comparing their reviews. Like,
okay.
I mean, if you're comparing like
that would be like comparing the first Avengers to Schindler's List. Like, what the fuck?
All right, let's see. The Cursed, reviewed by Scott Phillips, posted February 19th, 2021.
This premiered at a film festival.
How long has this been out?
It's one of those like released at a film festival first and then later, released into theaters.
Oh, this movie was originally called 8 for Silver.
Yeah, I don't know why they changed the name.
I don't know. That's a weird one. But
almost like the BoJack Horse who's like, I only take movies that have 2 syllables.
Yeah, no, he's like, this is great historical horror. I deeply disagree, especially because he's one of the guys who still calls them gypsy curses.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, buddy. Fuck off.
Some things have changed.
Scott Phillips, eat my ass. You're wrong on so many things. Don't listen to Scott Phillips, everybody. He sucks. Scott, if you're watching this, just to confirm, you suck. I hate you. You're terrible.
And today a new rivalry was born.
Scott Phillips and Mahan. Scott Phillips of Screen Scene and Mahan of Michael the Comic Nerd movie reviews.
I'm just going to put in the hashtag just that Scott Phillips sucks and just see if he name searches himself.
Hashtag Scott Phillips would be like, why the fuck am I on this? Scott, I'm sure you're a decent dude, but bad take, bro. Bad take.
That's all you got on The Curse outside of this weird vendetta that's appearing apparently. See if we can milk this.
I disagree with you, therefore I hate you. It's the deeply held tradition of the internet. You know?
It is the way. This is the way.
Yeah.
But anyway, so yeah, The Curse, not a good movie. Any final thoughts you want to throw in there while you're hate searching this critic apparently?
I'm just looking through his Rotten Tomatoes shit, buddy.
All right, you enjoy that. See you guys later.
Gypsy's a slur. Stop it.
It is.